I'm not the one who got trapped inside the cell block. That was my former coworker, Jenna. But the night she rang me from a Philadelphia emergency room, voice scraped raw, I'd promised I'd write her story exactly as she told it. Jenna and I spent 3 years side by side at a travel insurance firm. So when she muttered that her own weekend getaway was about to become a claim, I opened a notebook. What follows is her account. I've only threaded the sentences together and tried not to breathe too hard while typing. Jenna flew to Philly to gorge on cheesesteaks and market pastries, but she always slipped something weird into her itineraries. This time, it was the midnight haunt at Eastern State Penitentiary, the hulking stone prison-turned-museum north of Center City. She booked the 10:45 p.m. slot, 60 minutes, 5 cell blocks, 1 license guide, 0 gimmicks, at least on paper. 10 guests drifted through the iron gates that night. A Dutch couple, 2 Penn students, a retired math teacher, a solo vlogger hugging a fuzzy shotgun mic, and 4 birthday friends wearing glow stick bracelets. Their guide, Kira, wore a navy windbreaker stamped with the prison's wing key logo and spoke in clipped, no-nonsense bursts. No touching, no wandering, doors auto-lock. Stay inside the beam. Her flashlight flicked across every pair of shoes like a customs dog. The first stop was routine. Gothic arches, peeling paint, the rust-eaten barber chair where inmates once bartered secrets for contraband. Kira's rhythm was brisk, her sentences short perfect for Jenna's restless camera finger. She lagged just long enough to snap brick dust details. Ben jogged back into the torchlight. Everything felt safe until cell block 3, there the corridor forked. Kira led everyone left. Jenna, lining up a photo, noticed a lanky man standing in the right-hand passage. He wore an old-style guard's coat gray wool, brass buttons, battered truncheon on his belt, yet the same wing key patch gleamed on his shoulder. He stared at her, offered a small, conspiratorial tilt of the head, and murmured, "Restricted Al Capone wing, just open for archival work. If you want the real story, it's this way." Kira's beam was already shrinking around the left bend. Jenna weighed a 5-second risk, then followed the gray coat guard. His corridor sloped downward, the air turning metallic and wet. He pushed through a side door propped open by a simple wooden wedge, never bothering to check if she kept up. Beyond lay an unlit staircase and the smell of stone that hadn't breathed visitors in years. At the bottom, shuttered cells lined both sides. No ambient tour lights, here only the guard's handheld torch and thin emergency strips along the floor. He stopped at cell 8, slid a bolt with a rasp of iron, and said, "This is where Capone's bodyguard bunked, always listening for knives. Step inside. 30 seconds will give you the acoustics." Jenna, phone recording, stepped over the threshold. The guard's torch washed across spalled concrete, a rust-pocked sink, nothing more. Then the door clanged shut. Latch engaged. Darkness. She called out nothing. Her phone's LED lit the wall opposite, revealing dates sprayed in crimson, 3-17, 4-12, 509, each slashed through. Beneath them, a fresh blank line waited like a dare. Her pulse rattled. She banged the door, shouting, "Silence!" No cell signal. The recording icon blinked on her screen. A compressor thudded somewhere overhead. Then came the unmistakable snap of a padlock being fastened from the outside. Panic only sharpened her senses. She scanned the floor. No pipe, no tool, only a folded paper jammed under the sink. By phone light, she unfolded tonight's visitor roster. 10 names, hers second. Someone had circled it in pencil. She jammed the paper into a ball, pounded the iron with rhythmic triples, SOS from a survival podcast. 10 minutes? 20? Her throat shredded. At last the padlock rattled. The door opened on Kira and a security officer in a Kevlar vest. Torches stabbed Jenna's eyes. Why are you down here? Kira's voice cracked between anger and alarm. Jenna's story spilled out. The fork, the gray coat, cell 8, the lock. Kira's jaw set hard. There are no costume guards tonight, she said. That wing's been sealed since 2018. The stairwell you used was bricked over last winter. Escorted back, Jenna saw fresh dust where her footprints should have been, and industrial padlocks where she passed through an unsecured door minutes earlier. In the Welcome Center, staff scrubbed through CCTV. The footage showed her pausing at the fork, then melting into a blank construction tarp. No doorway, no guard, no deviation. She vanished at 11:14 p.m. and reappeared 90 minutes later when Kira opened a door that, on camera, never moved. Paramedics treated Jenna for dehydration and shock. Police collected the video from her phone. Museum management offered a free flight home, therapy vouchers, and a non-disclosure form. She refused to sign. 3 days later, a padded envelope landed in Jenna's mailbox, Philadelphia postmark, no return address. Inside lay a single brass button engraved with the wing T, crusted in gray paint that wouldn't scrub off. Beneath it, a strip of Polaroid film, cell 8, door ajar, a woman's silhouette inside, holding a phone like a candle. Someone had written the date of Jenna's tour on the bottom edge, right where that blank crimson line had waited. She keeps the button sealed in a freezer bag at the back of her icebox, convinced cold stifles whatever lingers on it. She still loves food crawls and historic walks, but every new booking gets cross-checked 3 times, daylight only, exits MAC. Last week, a colleague mentioned planning a fun, spooky vacation, and Jenna excused herself trembling before the break room lights could flicker. When people ask if I believe her, I start rational tunnels, play tricks, records get messy, but then the house settles wrong. Or my coat's brass snap catches hallway light, and I hear Jenna's hoarse whisper. Cell 8 never really closed. It just waits for the next name on the list. That's when I lock my front door twice, turn every lamp on, and remind myself that curiosity isn't worth a blank line painted in red. I touched down in Edinburgh for a 4-day design system summit, but I debooked my first night for something grittier. The 10 o'clock, old vaults and dark legends. Walk that starts on the high street and disappears beneath South Bridge. The company's glossy brochure showed flickering torches, dripping arches, and a plaid-cap guide promising tales of body snatchers. It felt like a safe way to scare myself before 48 hours of fluorescent conference rooms. The meeting point sat across from St. Giles Cathedral. Rain misted the cobbles, blurring car tail reflections into tartan streaks. 15 of us clustered under a street lamp, while our official guide, all freckles and festival lanyards, checked names from a clipboard. I noticed small printed circles next to each name. He ticked mine and handed over a plain white sticker numbered 12. The group skewed tourist. 2 Brisbane backpackers. A retired couple from York, 3 Erasmus students filming everything, and a mother with her teenage son wrapped in a Harry Potter scarf. Robbie laid ground rules, no flash photography, stay behind him inside the tunnels, and if anyone felt claustrophobic, wave a hand and step aside. Nothing about phones or wallets. I like the honesty. He raised a lantern battery, not flame, and herded us through a close so narrow my shoulders brushed masonry. A thick iron gate creaked open, and we followed into candle-lit brick corridors that smelled of wet limestone and something vegetal, like old mushrooms. The lower vault, once a wine cellar, Robbie said had been emptied of barrels. Graffiti from the 1980s clung beside Chute from 1830s fires. He pointed at black scars, told a story about Burke and Hare stashing bodies before midnight deliveries. The Erasmus trio gasped on cue. The mother clutched her son. My own pulse stayed calm, warmed by the guide's well-rehearsed rhythm. Half an hour in, we descended another stone flight and arrived at a fork. Robbie waved the lantern down the wider left passage. Main chambers that way, he said. But first a quick detour. He swung the gate of a narrow right corridor and beckoned. I hung back, snapping a final ISO high shot, so when I followed, I found myself last in line. That's when I saw him. Another guide, same dark cloak, heavier build, stood at the fork we'd just passed. His lantern looked older, flame instead of LED. In its flicker, I could read a stitched emblem on his collar, a small crown above an X. Nothing like Robbie's corporate badge. He lifted 2 fingers, as if counting us, then turned into the left passage alone, boots silent on wet stone. I jogged forward, caught Robbie at the corridor's bend, and asked if an assistant was checking numbers. He frowned beneath torchlight. Only staff down here is me, he said. And the fire inspector Tuesday mornings? He motioned me to keep pace. The group squeezed into a cramped antechamber. Inside, stone sweated moisture. Robbie began a speech about the cobbler, who died fashioning shoes from corpse skin standard tour gore. Yet my head tracked the stranger. I stepped to the threshold, listening for anyone rejoining from the fork. Only drip echoes. When Robbie finished, he asked if anyone wanted to exit before the darker vault ahead. No shame, it gets tight. The Harry Potter teen half raised a hand. Robbie smiled and said we'd drop him at the side stair next halt. The teen's mother thanked him. Back at the fork, the LED lantern revealed fresh footprints, mud streaks that hadn't been there earlier, leading into the left passage. Robbie noticed too, muttering that other companies sometimes crossed routes unannounced. He clicked his radio. Static. Battery, he sighed, tapping the case. We followed left, path constricting until shoulders grazed stone. 40 meters ahead, the corridor widened into what brochures call the cathedral chamber. Vaulted ceiling, broken arch alcoves. Candle jars lined the floor. At the far end, the second guide stood by an iron door half ajar. Robbie's lantern beam caught him. The man turned, face shadowed by hood, and motioned as though ushering us closer. Robbie stiffened. Sir, are you with McCullen Tours? He asked, voice echoing. The hooded man didn't answer. Instead, he stepped through the iron door, leaving it open. Robbie herded us into a huddle. That door leads nowhere safe, he whispered. It had been sealed since a wall collapsed last winter. Everyone stay here. He advanced alone, shoulders rigid. I slid against a pillar, camera forgotten, trying to glimpse past the door. Dim orange glow, leaked as if a torch burned beyond. Robbie pushed the door. It screeched wider, showing stairs descending to black. No hooded guide. Then a sharp metallic clang rang below, maybe a gate slamming. Wind smelled of cold earth. Robbie pulled the door shut, but it resisted, as if tensioned. He turned back, forced a grin, suggested we continue the official loop. The group exhaled. We shuffled toward another arch until the Harry Potter kid gasped, Mom, your bag. The woman's backpack zipper hung open, camera gone. One Brisbane backpacker patted his pocket's phone missing. Erasmus students discovered their mic had vanished. Robbie cursed softly. Pickpockets. The hooded man must have ghosted through the group while Robbie inspected the door. That clang downstairs? A thief locking a stash cage. Robbie's calm fractured into urgency. He guided us back toward the entry corridor, only to find the gate we'd passed earlier, now padlocked. The exit route was barred. Lanterns flickered. Gasps ricocheted. Robbie tried the radio dead hiss. I tested mind signal buried under meters of stone. He said there was a secondary ascent near the sealed door. We'd need to reclaim the passage quickly. We returned to the cathedral chamber. The iron door still stood ajar, torchlight gone. Robbie produced a folding knife, tiny, but any blade comforts. Cut a length of nylon cord from a barrier rope. Tied one end to Harry Potter teen's wrist. "Hold this," he said. "If tunnel narrows, tug to guide the rest." Down the stair we crept. Walls damp, air 3 degrees colder. Footprints, mud like earlier tracked ahead, then veered into a side alcove lit by guttering candle. The alcove floor sat sunken, water pooling ankle deep. Our stolen items, camera, phone, mic, rested atop an overturned crate, as if displayed. No thief visible, Roby whispered to stay. He stepped, grabbed camera. From the dark beyond came scraping metal, quick footfalls. I swung my light. The hooded figure sprinted down another shaft, cloak snagging stone. He glanced back first, clear view of face, late 30s, razor stubble, a blue tattooed crown under eye. "No, Ranger." He disappeared left. Robbie handed gear back, told us to retrieve nothing else and leave. Footsteps returned, closer this time, multiple sets. The tunnel birthed another stranger and another, all hooded, each holding bags bulging electronics. They froze on seeing us, traded looks. First man barked, "Wrong group, Robbie." His voice held local burr and mockery. Robbie stiffened. He recognized him. "Fraser, these aren't your marks." Fraser shrugged. "Already are. Gates locked. Papers in their bags worth more than phones." He slipped a jackknife, flicked it open. Robbie raised hands. "Kids here, Fraser. Walk away." Fraser's partner spread, blocking stare. ID photographed hundreds of conference security drills. Panic spreads when leadership cracks. Robbie kept eye contact with Fraser, then whispered, "On my count run." He hurled his LED lantern at ceiling. Glass shattered, plunging corridor into semi-dark. Shadows danced under single fluttering candle. Robbie rushed Fraser, shoulder to rib. Knife arm jerked upward. Blade scraped stone. I grabbed Harry Potter teen, shoved toward stair. Group followed cord out. Brisbane backpacker swung his metal water bottle at second thief's forearm. Phone stuffed, bag dropped. Erasmus students yanked a crate, sliding it as barricade. Idaho husband kicked candle into water. Chamber went black. I hauled mother and teen up steps, hearing scuffle echoes. Robbie barked, "Keep moving." We reached cathedral chamber. I felt a long wall to iron door open. Teen tugged cord. Everyone emerged. Gate still padlocked. Robbie panted behind, minus lantern, bleeding from forearm cut. He produced key from belt pouch, official tour key set, and rammed into lock. It gave. Gate swung. We rushed the higher corridor, past sealed door, up final stair, until wooden hatch opened into fresh drizzle behind a souvenir kiosk. Robbie radioed control with a rescue frequency on his second unit, explaining false guide intrusion. Staff arrived in 5 minutes, police 10. Officers descended, finding Fraser unconscious, face bloodied by crate edge. Partners fled via a smuggler's chute, but were caught after surfacing near Cowgate. Detectives said Fraser once worked for a licensed vault tour. After dismissal, he recruited mates to mimic guides, printing badges at a friend's kilt shop. They studied group timings, inserted themselves as extra staff, and steered crowds into dead-end chambers to lift valuables during staged power cuts. No gadgets beyond padlocks, knives, candles, nothing futuristic, pure sleight of hand and dark. Official tours now post a bright orange lanyard visible under torchlight. Any guide without it triggers alarm. Gates gained key bars only inside. Radio switched to encrypted channel. Back at street level, Robbie apologized for the scare, offered free passes I'll never use. My camera card still held the hooded man's first silhouette, that crown tattoo clear enough for court. I printed the frame next day, slid it beside Dad's mule trail photo on my fridge. Edinburgh stones keep secrets, but now I trust only daylight and orange lanyards. Urban legends draw crowds. Predators slip beneath them, cloaked as staff and counting footfalls. When the next brochure talks of tunnels and forgotten historians, I'll read the fine print, check the badge color, and keep my own light, just in case another shadow guide waits to close the gate behind us. I flew to Louisville for bourbon and baseball, but the hotel concierge insisted the Waverly Hills night tour was the one souvenir you'll never lose. Dark tourism bait. I booked the 11 p.m. slot, signed a waiver dense with disclaimers, and rode a shuttle that rattled up the hill like it resented the climb. 9 of us huddled under the red security light. A honeymoon couple from Florida, 2 bearded urban explorer brothers with action cameras. A middle-aged teacher from Ohio on off to UPS. Driver name-tagged Maria and 3 college kids. Road tripping Route 66 in reverse. Our guide, Kyle, was a rangy guy in a black Park Service hoodie. He checked IDs, passed out pocket flashlights, batteries deliberately half-charged, and laid down rules in drill sergeant bursts. Stay within arm's reach. No solo live streams. Nothing leaves the backpack except water. Minutes later, we were inside, torchlight jittering over peeling plaster and bird nest rafters. Kyle's pacing was perfect. 1 brisk fact, 2 steps of silence. Another fact. 5th floor TB ward, electroshock suite, death toll statistics all delivered like hammer taps. My flashlight was already fading to a sickly oval. At the halfway mark, he stopped beneath a sagging exit sign and said, "Optional detour, the body chute. 30-degree decline, 500 feet to the old service road." We walked down, ride the trolley back up. If you're claustrophobic, wait here. Nobody backed out. Half-charged bravery is still bravery. Kyle flicked on emergency string lights, dull red Christmas bulbs, stapled to handrails, and led us into the sloping tunnel the staff once used to slide corpses out of sight. The concrete felt slick, damp with summer humidity. Red bulbs bled more shadow than light. The Explorer brothers kept whispering B-roll angles, occasionally blinding us with their own rigs. I stayed mid-pack, listening to the honeymooners laugh too loudly at everything nervous relief. Kyle paused at the first landing to point out date stamps in the concrete. That's when one explorer with the shaved side cut and the word static on his windbreaker murmured, "We saw a better hotspot back there." Quick peek? Kyle shook his head. No branching. Stay with the herd. He kept talking TB stats. We marched on. 50 yards later, red bulbs sputtered once, then died. Total darkness swallowed us. Gasps pinged off the walls. I thumbed my torch. It spat a dime-sized glow. Kyle's voice cut through. Generators trip. Hold your place. Lights'll cycle. A click echoed behind me. Metal on metal. Something locking. The bulbs flared back. Static Jacket stood at the rear, looping a bungee cord through an old pipe that crossed the chute. Carabiner snapped shut. The cord stretched chest high across the tunnel like a taut clothesline. His buddy filmed, infrared lens gleaming. Kyle spun. "What the hell are you doing?" Static shrugged. "Content, man. Panic pops. Genuine fear sells. We need 30 seconds tops." He yanked his jacket zipper, pulled out a cheap CO air horn, and blasted it. The tunnel magnified the sound into a freight train roar. Honeymoon wife screamed. College kid dropped his phone. It skittered into darkness. The UPS driver swore. Static's partner swung the camera, barking hype. Night terror exclusive. Real tour, real reactions. The Florida husband lunged, but the bungee line bounced him back, scraping his arms. The camera guy laughed. Kyle tried unclipping the carabiner. Static jammed an L-shaped tire iron between the pipe and wall like a dead man anchor. Easy, Ranger. Nobody gets hurt if we get the footage. He pointed the air horn again, the threat of instant tinnitus. It clicked. They weren't robbing us. They were farming viral fear. No weapons beyond hardware store tools. But the line plus the horn gave them control. Kyle whispered to Maria, the UPS driver. She nodded once, knelt as if tying her boot. My pulse hammered. I spotted the teacher's chunky keychain flashlight dangling unused fresher batteries than mine. I tapped her elbow, mouthed, swap. She handed it over, hands shaking. Behind us, the body chute slanted unbroken to the service road door. A fire exit, Kyle said, was sealed, but alarmed. If we could sprint past the bungee trap, hit the crash bar, alarms might bring security up top and scare off our filmmakers. Kyle bought time. Film's worthless if the police impound it, he said calmly. Unlock the line. We'll stage a jump scare upstairs. You keep everything. Nobody presses charges. Static snorted. Fake screams don't trend. Raw or nothing. Maria rose, dusting her knee. She winked at me, tiny, fast, and pivoted toward the bungee as if surrendering. Instead, she seized the line and yanked down. The cord sagged, opening a gap just enough for a slim person. I bolted. Camera guy lunged for my backpack strap. I ducked, rammed a shoulder into his ribs, felt him wheeze. The teacher shoved behind me. Others poured through the drooping gap like grains in a busted hourglass. Static recovered, blasting the air horn. The sound split my skull, but adrenaline pushed me. Halfway down the chute, a metal service door appeared on the right chained, but old. I skipped it, eyes on the glowing exit sign barely visible at the tunnel's end. Footsteps pounded behind Static, chasing, cursing about ruined footage. I hit the crash bar. It screamed like a banshee, but the door stuck on swollen hinges. I braced, slammed again. Rust popped. The slab flew open into a warm Kentucky night. We spilled onto cracked asphalt behind the sanatorium. Motion lights blinked on. A security SUV idled 30 yards away, driver smoking, scrolling a phone. Our door alarm shrieked overhead. The guard's head snapped up. Within minutes, 2 officers jogged into the chute. Static and the camera guy surrendered, bungee cord still dangling. Their gear bag held 3 GoPros, 3 power banks, a magnetized tripod head, and a thumb drive labeled Raw Fear Season 4. They had planned to lock us in, record our panic for 5 minutes, then release us and vanish into the tree line with clickbait gold. The CO, horn, and tire iron were meant to keep anyone from pushing past. We gave statements under floodlamps. My ears rang. Honeymoon wife couldn't stop laughing in hiccup bursts. Kyle's hands shook as he wrote employee incident forms. County deputies charged the pair with unlawful imprisonment, assault, and reckless endangerment. Their lawyer later argued it was performance art. A judge disagreed. Back at the hotel, I lay awake replaying the bullhorn blast. The line snapping against my chest, the way the camera lens gleamed like a single red eye. I deleted my own phone clips of the tour, suddenly allergic to the currency of fear. 2 days later, an unmarked envelope slid under my room door. Inside, a thumb drive and a sticky note. Free footage for the hero. Thanks for the pop. The drive held a single file, my dash down the chute, flashlight jerking, breath ragged, alarm wailing, genuine terror, ready for upload. I dropped it in the ice machine, watched plastic crack, metal warp. Some souvenirs you really can lose.